Hello, everybody, and welcome to What Do You Say Anime? I am your host, Peter, and on today's episode, the gang and I will be reviewing the 2016 MAPPA original, Yuri on Ice. Joining me today, first, our lovely co-host, Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
It still feels kind of weird being called a co-host, but yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. Last week I was talking, well, not last week, but I guess last episode, we were talking about how you guys were lucky that you guys got to watch the Violet Evergarden movie. Well, in 4 days, the Demon Slayer movie is also coming out to you guys, but not me, so...
Wow,
yeah.
sick plug.
Feels
We're
great.
actually be doing an episode on that on Friday. Sick plug, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
You won't see me on it, I wonder why.
Oh,
Company man.
rest in peace, Canada. Joining me first, our moderator is Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It's going well. Johnny, you might not have any movies up in Canada, but you do have King JJ. So, it's all good.
That is true, that is true.
So I'm excited to talk about the show. It's one of my favorites. This is my second time watching it, and I'm pretty, it's going to be good to get into it.
That's good to hear. And our second moderator is young Patty Mills of the San Antonio Spurs. Patty, how's it going?
Oh, it's good. I haven't worn a headband in like a month now. It's been really different. It's weird. I'm excited to talk about the second best sport on ice in the world. It's going to be really fun tonight. I don't know if you guys can see them up there. My old hockey sticks from my career way back in the day
The glory days.
before I picked up basketball and started for the San Antonio Spurs. But,
I didn't know hockey was big in Australia, Patty.
Yeah.
I know it is. Well, it's really big in Japan too, apparently. It's pretty cool actually. Their women's team is top 10 in the world, fun fact. So but yeah, figure skating, cool. I don't know, I never watched the show when it first came out cuz I was a hockey guy and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of not me." And I'm really sad I didn't cuz it's a great show.
Yes, it is. And joining us today, our special guest, we have Miss AK herself. AK, how is it going?
Good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
AK, can you tell us a little about yourself, like the content that you do and like where you're from and where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. So I am I would say new anime watcher. Only the past 3 years have I been watching. So that's still that seems like a long time for almost anything else, but when you're in the anime community, that means that you're a baby. So I started to immerse myself in TikTok culture and started to cosplay and got into some fun Discord communities and Twitch communities and has totally taken over my life, and now I pretty much don't watch anything else besides anime. But I absolutely love it.
And where can people find you? Like, where do you post your content like the most frequently?
So I stream on Twitch doing just random stuff every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's Your Cool Substitute because I am a teacher in real life. So I started as a substitute teacher. Now I'm a real teacher. So I'm Your Cool Substitute on all my platforms. You can find me on TikTok or Twitch using both of those usernames.
And I will be providing the links to both of those in the description below. Thank you again, AK, for joining us. This is one of your favorite shows, and you've talked about it a lot. So when it got nominated, I had to reach out to you because I knew you liked it. But
I love it.
enough about AK. Let's talk about Yuri on Ice. Pat, you are our moderator. Please take the discussion away.
Well, yeah. So, for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, what we always do, we do our first impressions of the show. So this is spoiler free. What we heard about the show before we watched it, what we thought of the first few episodes, and whether or not we would recommend the show to anybody else. So, as always, let's start with Miles. Miles, what have you got for Yuri on Ice?
Yeah, sure. So this is my second time watching the show. The first time I watched it was maybe 2 years ago or so. This was a recommendation from my fiance Kayla. She'd heard about it on a podcast and said she wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Oh boy, my girlfriend at the time wants to watch anime with me. Let's do it for sure." What's it about? And she's like, ice skating. I'm like, whatever, let's watch it. And color me surprised, I absolutely adored it. I thought it was so good. I think that it starts off strong. First 3 episodes are good. Animation in episode 1 is just like, whoo, you can see where the budget went. And it goes into those initial figure skating scenes. And yeah, I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who just enjoys like having a good time. It's not like, I don't know, super heavy or anything. I think it's just like a fun, good character story.
I think that's a very fair analysis of it. I definitely agree with you that my first reaction to hearing it was just like, figure skating. Okay, like I was that's always what always was my initial reaction to it. Johnny, what about you?
So my experience is probably pretty similar to what you just said. It's like Yuri on Ice was one of the shows that I heard about when I was getting into anime. Like all these people, like it's like, hey, like what's one of the best anime? It's like, yo, Yuri on Ice. It's like really good show. And I was just thinking, like, just looking at it, it's like, figure skating. It's like I could watch something else. I'm gonna go watch Attack on Titan. I'm gonna go watch SAO. It's like,
The
but
better
like,
shows, obviously, right? Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Hold on.
I'm not gonna say which one's the better show. I'm just gonna leave it up to interpretation. But anyways, so so yeah, like I was never the type of person like watch sports anime. Like I don't know, it just didn't appeal to me. But now after I've seen this, like my perception of them is completely changed. Like I definitely understand why so many people like these kind of shows because of the. It's just so easy to understand the story behind them. Like I thought I thought the show was really good. It just changed my perception on the genre as a whole, and I would absolutely recommend this to anyone.
Nice. Johnny, did you join us for ping pong, or were you not
I
around
did
for that?
not.
Okay, I wondered. I am gonna definitely allude to ping pong at some point tonight when we're during our discussion. But I was wondering because you mentioned not liking sports anime. I'm the same way. Where even being an athlete like my whole life, I just couldn't get into sports anime. I was just like it felt like needless drama. But this show along with ping pong, like we talked about in the past, is an example like one of the few sports anime that I really really got into. And I was just gonna see if you had that same experience with ping pong, but you didn't. But Pete, I know you did, right? You love ping pong. What do you
Love
think
ping
about Yuri on
pong.
Ice?
Yeah, ping pong's probably my second favorite sports anime of all time. This is also like Miles, my second watch through. I watched this time on dub since I watched the first time on sub, and my first impressions are that this dub is absolutely incredible. I was discussing this prior to the show. This is top 3 dubs I think I've ever heard. It may be number 1. That and Bakano are like neck and neck, but I think what Yuri on Ice does so well compared to other shows, especially my first impression, is it took a subject matter that I'm A, not familiar with, and B, I don't really care about. Like I don't watch figure skating. I've seen like clips and stuff, but like I don't go out of my way to watch figure skating. And then just to be completely immersed in like their choreography, the music, the dances that they do in the show is like next level. And I was like fully captivated by something I really don't care about. And I think that is a huge like plus for this show. Taking something that I think this show like can appeal to like everybody because it's so well done. Taking subject matter that people don't care about and making it incredible. Fun fact, also for a first impression, this is my second favorite OP of all time, History Maker. And the fun fact that History Maker was animated by one single person. So fun fact for that the fact that the OP looks that good and it was drawn by one person is absolutely crazy. I would
Oh.
absolutely recommend Yuri on Ice to almost anybody.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, that was a cool thing to learn about was the OP being made, yes, by one person made the entire thing, especially after our Isokin episode last week. Sick plug, Pat. Thanks, Pat. Uh, seeing the animation and how much effort goes into like even just like 10 frames of animation, how many people it would take to create that knowing that one person made that entire minute 30 OP where it's just this fluid motion of the three main characters or the three of the main characters we should say like it's so great to know that. And last but not least, AK, what do you think about Yuri on Ice? What were your first impressions?
It was one of my first animes that I ever watched. I think it was the 4th or 5th one I ever watched, and I got it just because I had just watched Oron High School Host Club, which the first time I watched it was a little much for a new anime watcher. There's some like kind of just like funky anime tropes that's like a little off-putting for a first anime watcher, but I liked it and I went on TikTok and I asked people like what should I watch? And I got recommended this in Boku no Stray Dogs, which I still haven't watched. Um, But I watched this and it was the first ever anime that I binged in one night. I sat in my bed and I watched it on my laptop. And when it was over, I was so upset because I just wanted more because
Yeah.
I just absolutely fell in love with it. And I've since seen it dub one other time. And then I recently, maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, watched it with my boyfriend. And like Pete said, he was like, I never had a drive to watch the show because I don't really care about figure skating. He's like,
Right.
he loves sports anime. He's a very athletic person. He likes that drive in a show. But he was like, I don't like figure skating. So I never really thought I would find a connection to the show. I wouldn't think it'd be interesting to me. But we just sat and watched it and I just was reminded how much I love the storyline and the characters. I think the characters are that is why I like the show. Because again, I don't really care that much about figure skating, but not only was the show able to make me want to now go watch a bunch of figure skating videos, I also just fell in love with these characters and I'm not a very if I don't like the characters, I'm not gonna like the show. I think characters I was a theater girl back in high school, so the character development in a show is really important to me. If I can't connect with someone on a personal level, I don't think I would like it. And this just had some of my favorite characters. I think my best boy in this that we'll talk about later is probably in my top 5 favorite anime characters
Ooh.
ever.
Nice.
That's good.
I'm really interested in that conversation.
That's gonna be
Mm.
such a fun. That's good. We need to honestly keep our main discussion short, I think,
I'm
because
cool with that.
best boy and girl is probably gonna be like a half an hour. I'd say. I think that we could probably talk that long about
I
it.
will fight for my best.
I will
boy.
fight.
I
Oh,
want to
we
hear
know,
it.
Miles. We know.
I think Miles and I will be teaming up on this one, from what I
Oh,
can
let's
understand.
go. Okay.
Ooh.
But anyways, I will agree with AK, especially on the characters being the main selling point for this show for me as well. Because again, like everyone else has been saying, I'm not big into figure skating. As a matter of fact, I hated figure skaters growing up because they always took our ice time. They always got in our way during free skate or didn't let us have practice at normal times. I had to get up at 5 a.m. to practice for hockey instead of getting to go after school because figure skaters needed that ice time for whatever reason. So I grew up hating figure skating, just to put it bluntly, I did. And this opened my eyes to the sport. Obviously I'm grown older. I'm not as bitter about it anymore. But it has changed my perspective even more on figure skating, to understanding some of the dedication and the specific things that they need to practice in life, such as their social skills are really important. Being able to be friendly with their competitors and cheer them on and develop relationships with them is a really important aspect of their life, their careers and their skills. From a first impression standpoint, I would say that the first few episodes were not its strong point for me. I think the middle and the very middle of the show was its strongest for me, mainly because I don't know. I watched the first few episodes with my family, and there were a lot of uncomfortable anime tropes, especially in the first episode. The first episode took forever. I was sitting there and I was wincing throughout it because there were just a lot of uncomfortable moments that were just a little too anime, maybe, especially for someone who I thought going in that it would be a really good first anime to show someone, or at least one of the first few ones where it doesn't have those random tropes. God bless you, AK, for starting with Ouran High School Host Club, because that is quite the first anime to start off
Yeah.
with.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's I don't think it's nearly that bad, but it is. I think that first episode, again, I was watching it with my dad. My dad's an older guy, so I was just I could tell already. I was like, yeah, okay, this show's not going to be for him. You know, you know what I mean? So that this show is not for him. I could tell he was not into it. That last scene in the tub, he was just not about it. Which is fine. You know what? That's fine. But I would recommend this show. I think it has its weaknesses as well, but the characters are so incredible in the show. They are, again, Best Boy is going to be a half-hour discussion, and I can't wait. But yeah, so now that we've gotten our first impressions out of the way, this is our spoiler zone going forward. All spoilers are fair game. But yeah, so let's talk about some discussion points. So our first discussion point, I would say, would be uh, Pete wanted to bring this one
Yeah.
up with exposition dumps, which an exposition dump I would say best is described as like when the show is trying to tell you either provide you context or a better understanding of either the world or the situation or things that are going on. The best way to describe this to just people in general is like when you're watching a movie, right? And the movie starts and then suddenly there's a newscaster or a television report on the TV in the setting that they're in, and it tells you, oh, there's a zombie virus that's running rampant, something like that. Like that's like
Yeah.
the easiest example of an
Yeah,
exposition dump
Pat.
I can think of.
Our
Yeah.
listeners are not 11 years old. I think they know what an exposition dump is.
I don't know.
No, I didn't
This
know
is
what
an
that was.
exposition dump for exposition dumps.
Yeah.
AK asked us what exposition dumps were, and I figured, you know what, there are people even less bright than AK out there.
I'm
So
not
I
the
figured I would help
smartest
them.
teacher, I guess.
And
I
that,
am the
it-
sharpest
Meta,
tool in the
even this
shed.
acronym. This is
Yeah.
an exposition dump.
yeah,
Um,
but like I figured that was the best example I could think of where it's like, oh yeah, I've seen that in so many movies, you know. So that's what we mean when we're talking about exposition dumps, which Yuri on Ice does a ton of. They do them pretty much every episode. Actually, I believe they open almost every episode with at least some sort of exposition dumps. So Pete, what do you want to bring up about them specifically? Because
Well,
I thought they were annoying to me at certain points. I think they were important to the
yeah.
show, but I found them to be a bit overdone at times. What about you?
This will be really interesting because I'm like the exact opposite because I thought they did it one of the best I've ever seen in anime. So, like, the big examples for me was the actual skating aspect of the show. And especially like the first competition, they explained the scoring, whereas like this freestyle, and then they had like the presentation one or whatever. So like one was like more choreographic, and the other one was like tricks. And they did a really good job of like explaining like, hey, we have two different types of like competition. They're scored differently. Here you go. And it's like, okay, cool. Let me like interpret it how I think it's going to be. So you see like the first scoring, he scores like a 90, and that's high. And then like the second time he scores like 130, and that's high as well. And it's like, well, what's the point difference? Like, why is it so like different? Like, why are the two so much different? And like, they don't explain it. You just have to like put it together. And I always like, I'll compare it to like shonen anime where they just tell you everything for like 8 minutes long. Like, here's the situation. Here's what's going on. Here's this guy. Here's that guy. Here's this guy's background. This one's just like, they explained where like how JJ was going to do 4 jumps in the second part of his act, and nobody else could do 4. It's like, that's telling me that 4 is very hard to do and it's worth more points. Like, you don't need to like have this huge dump of things. Like, I'll figure it out myself. And they did that throughout the entire show, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it because it just let me go along with the flow of the show. It let me have more time with the characters, more times with like the choreographed like presentations that they do because they were fantastic throughout the show. And I just thought they did a really good job at like simpling it down. Like you said in the beginning of the episode, they talk about it, but to me, it was like the perfect amount. And they didn't really do it in excess to me, in my viewpoint. And I honestly thought it was like one of the best I've ever seen in anime. And I think Miles also had like a really good example of it as well.
Yeah, well, mine's a little different because mine's sort of a joke one, but I do want to say on top of that, like, if you've been listening to this a while, you know that like I'm the type of person that will just like look things up about like what shows are about, and so I
Yeah.
Googled like a ton of stuff about figure skating, as I was watching this, so I could like be more prepared because they were talking a lot about like feeling like the love or whatever, it's like, oh, I'm not like feeling agape, which is like Italian for unconditional love or whatever. And I was like, well, that's like great and everything, but like there's no way in hell that matters. And so I Googled figure skating scoring, and wouldn't you fucking know? It does matter. So like, there's a lot of like scoring that's based on like your interpretation of your theme, your interpretation and movement towards like the music and stuff like that. And so they just like talk about those things, and cats are great.
I'm sorry, the cat just
And I thought that was really cool. I like when you know what I mean. It's like 2021. We have phones and Google. You can just like tell me things, and if I want to know about it, I can like figure it out. But you don't need to spend too much time explaining to the audience, like the difference between like a toe loop or a regular loop, or like an axle is the hardest jump and worth the most points when a toe loop is the least difficult jump. That's what I learned.
Wow, look at that.
So,
Yeah.
and it's all about like where you jump off. I didn't even know there were multiple ways to jump on a skate. To be honest, I think I can only jump one way without a skate. So I'm impressed that people can jump
You
multiple
can't
ways
jump
with
on
a
one
skate.
leg.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like the mechanics of it, like, I guess like I can. I just never really thought about it.
No real need to. Yeah.
Yeah. The example I wanted to give though is my favorite example of lamp shading ever, which is when the triplets, his friends triplets, are explaining to his parents how like the Grand Prix series works and everything, and like how he qualifies for everything. And they just say like for some reason like the Kotskis don't understand how like these qualifiers work because they didn't have a character that wouldn't know how it worked, so they just picked a character and were like, they don't understand how this works. And then they even like make another joke about it later where Victor says like, "Oh, I actually didn't know how that worked because I'd never needed to qualify for anything like
Yeah.
this because I always play so highly." And I thought that was fantastic. So they sort of like subverted their own trope subversion, and I thought that was really funny. Um,
Yeah. So I guess my main complaint with the exposition would have been how frequent it was, rather than how it was done, because it was done really well. Like I loved the commentary during their performances, because like I feel like, oh, by the end of it, I could tell, like, oh, if he stumbled or put his arm down while he was like finishing his jump, or didn't have his arms in a certain way when he landed, like that. By that point, by the end of the show, I had started to figure out, like, and piece it together, like, oh, that means he messed up, or oh, that means he didn't do what he was intending to do. But I liked that at the very beginning, because it was just like, it was like I was just watching figure skating. Like I it felt that, I guess that's just another general point that I looked at as a plus for the show, which was I was so tense during almost every performance, because it felt like I was watching a real performance. It felt like I didn't know. Literally, I never was able to predict what was going to happen with any performance throughout the show. Like in terms of like saying, "Oh, I know that he's going to ace it. I know he's going to flub here." Like it was every jump I was tense to see if they landed it or not. Which I gotta give them credit, because most sports anime aren't like that. They don't keep you on edge. They don't make you wonder who's going to win. And I think this one did an exceptional job of that. And so again, the exposition helped in those situations, and I think it was really well done. I just thought that there was so much of it that it was almost like I felt like there was almost always some sort of exposition going on, whether that's because there were so many performances, or beginning of every episode starting out with, someone basically updating us as if we hadn't watched the last episode. I don't know. I'm always generally opposed to that, because I'd rather like Miles said, I'd rather figure it out on my own, or be expected that I am smart enough to figure it out on my own. But that, like you said, Pete, there are certain things that you wouldn't be able to figure out either through watching it only or being on your own. What about you, Johnny? What do you think about? Did you notice the exposition? Was it that um, make or break for you, or anything like that?
Well, for me, it's like the mentality is like for us, we're watching it a different way from when it was released, because we, after one episode, we can just immediately go watch the other one. So like I'm looking at it from like the weekly perspective. It's like, what if you're just watching this weekly, and then like every week you need to be reminded?
That's a good
Like
point, actually. Yeah.
yeah, like I like you said, it was just 1 or 2 minutes, and then it's just like for example, during the final arc, it's just like they went through like what the standings were, and I thought like that was completely fine. Like it serves its purpose. It doesn't stay for longer than it needs to, and it just doesn't bother me.
Mhm.
And it's like, so like for the exposition, it's just like, I guess some parts of it were a little bit too much, but it's for me, it's like I understand why it's there, and it just doesn't bother me. Like it doesn't take away from
It's
the
not make
show.
or
It's
break
just
for
something
you.
that's there. Yeah, exactly. Like it's not a big part of a show unless it's literally spending like 20, unless it's
Sure.
literally like spending 20 minutes explaining what
It's like
chakra is.
like Dragon Ball, spending 5 minutes at the beginning of every episode repeating what happened in the last one, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
not like that level. It's like
Yeah.
unless it's so much that is like it's basically stalling out the runtime of the show. Then I don't
Exactly.
have a problem with it.
Yep.
I think that's fair. I will say that that was a very minor complaint. I think that that's more just a nitpick, because again, I really truly did enjoy this show a ton. But yeah, so let's move on to one of our other
Whoa, what about AK? Doesn't she want to?
Yeah, do you
Oh,
have
did
thoughts,
AK?
AK?
I'm sorry. Do you have thoughts? I don't know. I assumed you didn't.
The
but-
only thing that I would add is I really enjoyed the animation that they did during a lot of the expositions where they did this like whiteboard drawing
Yes.
where they would
Yeah.
have, and again, as a teacher who draws on a whiteboard for like 8 hours a day, I thought that was a very clever way to be like, okay, I'm explaining to the viewers what's going on in like a teaching manner that is on a whiteboard. And I thought that was kind of a clever way of doing it. I will say sometimes it did get repetitive at the beginning of the episodes where it's like, hi, I'm Yuri and I am this average boy. And he went on his little thing every time.
Yeah.
But I did really like the little animation. I thought that was very cute and clever.
You should introduce your cat as well.
Yes.
Oh yes, and my cat Totoro, I'm holding him on my lap
my
because
God.
he will probably step on my keyboard and like mute me or turn my camera off or exit me out if I don't hold him. So this is Totoro. Say hi, Totoro. Ready, he'll do a little stretch for you. Ready? Oh, big stretch.
If you're listening to us on SoundCloud or iTunes, you should watch us on YouTube. That way we have visual content and you can see
Do
a
we
cute
have a
cat.
SoundCloud?
You can see a cute kitty.
Yeah.
We have a SoundCloud?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
You can plug
Nice.
us on all your
Do we-
viral tweets,
Do
Johnny.
we plug a Haz's music on it?
Has
Yes.
also has a SoundCloud. Listen to his music. He's
Yeah.
better than we are. So
Yes, true.
just drop
lot
this
better.
episode right now and go listen to Has.
Oh, wow, come on, man.
And yeah, sick reverse plug, Miles. And
You're
I wanna
on the
say-
podcast.
I don't
Yeah, I
like
know,
to
but,
rehear.
Yeah, I calls them as I sees them.
That's
The
true.
club goes on. The club goes on.
One last note about the exposition before we get into like the next topic, and I think that it's a pretty easy segue we can do here. But I really liked the announcer. Like I thought he was a good form of exposition because one, I think the voice actor for the announcer did a good job of sounding like an announcer. And like I understood like things where someone would do like all 4 rotations or something, but they would fall, and he's like, well, they still get partial points because, and it's like a very natural part to have exposition because that exposition exists
It's like a real broadcast.
in real
yeah.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not excessive, it's not extra. It's something that we would expect while watching figure skating, like, in the Olympics, because people don't watch it all the time or whatever, or during the World Championship. It's like when I'm watching curling, I don't know what's happening, and that's why you got to explain that like really well. So I think that was like a really good method of how to do that. One reason I think that they had so many recaps at the beginning, and to get into our second subject, and I'm interested in everyone's opinion on this. I know Pete and I agree because we talked about it a little bit briefly before, but the show kind of has like 2 settings, which is inside the skating rink and then unimportant locations outside of the skating rink that are just essentially unimportant. Like, like they do go from Moscow to Barcelona or whatever. And with Barcelona particularly, it does, they go around and ride a Vespa or whatever, go shopping,
Get married.
get married casually.
Yeah.
But it didn't, the settings aren't very strong, and when you're in these competitions and the inside of skating rinks are just so similar to each other, it's probably hard to, like, there aren't visual cues to tell us I'm in a skating rink in Barcelona now and it's this finale or whatever, or I'm in a skating rink and we're in Moscow or the hot springs or wherever. Like, as far as I know, those like visual cues don't exist, and so I think some of the exposition, while perhaps a bit excessive, was just to set the setting more because we don't have the normal visual cues we did. And I guess the transition would be, for a show that essentially has 2 settings, I thought it was amazing because I think setting is sort of like an underrated aspect. Like, where you are is like super important for what happens, and the setting and the backgrounds were super samey for a lot of this, because they're skating for 80% of the show, and it didn't really wear on me or affect me in any way. I know Pete, you had stuff to say about this.
Well, yeah, I guess you make good points about like the inside and the outside. I just want to give a shout out to my boy Pork Cutlet Bowl, which is the best part of the entire show. I love how
Yeah.
they consistently reference a pork cutlet bowl I was so hungry the entire time, like watching it.
My first pork cutlet bowl watching it this past time with Chin, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it's just really fun, like the settings, like how I guess like we got to see like especially like Yurio, how he's kind of like this uptight kid, and then outside of the ice rink, especially when he like reunites with his grandpa, it's like he's not as like the person that you think he is. I think he just has like this attitude towards ice skating that was like really cool because I know people that are like reflecting towards that where like on the court they're like a completely different person. Like they just like switch a gear, and I really like that settings where like you got to see him back in like Russia and St. Petersburg and stuff like that. I guess the overall setting to like the show to me wasn't. I guess you kind of made a point where it's like you don't really know where they are. They kind of sometimes reference it in like the beginning of the episode. They're like pre-qualifiers. Here we are in Barcelona, Spain, and they do something like that. So it's like, okay, we're going to Barcelona, Spain, and I guess like you kind of like Barcelona was like a big deal because it seemed like the Grand Prix finals were always in Barcelona or something like that. So that was kind of cool. But to be honest, I don't have a whole lot to say about the setting.
Yeah, that's fine.
but,
AK,
like,
you have something to. Oh, you're keeping
just
going.
just one thing about the setting. I guess the hometown of where Yuri is from.
Oh yeah, this is great.
This is great. So the show is an original, and it was funded by the town that Yuri is from in like real life. So this show is essentially a promotional marketing tool for the town that Yuri is from.
Okay, I want to play a game before we throw it to AK real quick. Can anyone remember the name of the town?
Starts with an N?
Konsetsu?
Is it Konsetsu?
Oh.
This
is
you're
a terrible game.
You're the
Because I
host.
don't remember. I want to see how well the marketing did. I want to see if any
of
the five of us remembered.
Yeah.
It is.
I
just watched it too, so that's almost unfair to ask me out of all of us. Hold on, let me look.
Well, okay, yeah. So AK, make your point while Pat looks up the town name, and then we can find out after if it worked on any of us.
What I was thinking about this, it didn't come up into my head until we decided to start talking about the setting and how like kind of like a blank slate it is because it is just an ice skating rink. I think it's kind of a cool thing that it's about all these different people from these different places. So you got the Japanese skater, you have the American, you have the Canadian, you have the Swiss guy, whatever.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Chris.
The Swede, the guy who comes in his pants.
No.
He's
No. He's
hilarious.
from
He's
Switzerland.
correct. No, he is from Switzerland.
Yeah,
Oh,
Chris
is
is
he
from
from
Switzerland?
Switzerland?
Okay.
He's
Chris
His
is
name's
from
like Chris or something.
He's hilarious. I
Christoph.
love
He's the
it.
guy that nutted during like.
Yeah, he jizzes in his pants at the end of his performance.
Yeah, that was.
Oh my god.
It's amazing.
I'm glad I
like a
didn't show my
kid.
parents that episode.
He-
Yeah.
I hope whoever
like-
skates afterwards, like I hope they clean up that fucking rink. 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
like imagine slipping on your skates.
Oh no.
Wow, we're getting really into it.
I would have won the gold if it wasn't for all that cum.
Yeah.
Moving back to our initial question that got us to this point,
But yeah,
Yuri.
like, you
go
have
ahead.
all of these people from these different places, and if it was super heavily location based, then someone would have like an edge because the Spain guy would be like all like I don't remember if there was a specific Spanish character, but like I liked the fact that there was like kind of this like blank slate negative background that existed that they can all connect on because they all skate in an ice skating rink. Like they all have that connection, even though they're all from completely different places, completely different backgrounds, completely different locations. Like this having an ice skating rink is pretty basic. Every ice skating rink I've ever been into, I'm from the New England area, so all my friends ice skated. They were all hockey players, so
Yeah.
I've been to 100 ice skating rinks. They're all the same.
They
But
are.
because of that, you can find like home if that's your home. Like if ice skating is your thing, doesn't matter where you go, that ice skating rink will still have something that you're like, this feels right. This feels like something I can connect to. Like I have a connection to this random ice skating rink in Barcelona that I've never been to before, but I know the ice and it's right here, so I can do my shit and do it well.
Yeah.
It's like a
Like,
unifying factor for the people from all these different
exactly.
backgrounds. Yeah,
And
that's
there's
really
also
cool.
a
That's a great
competitive
thought.
competitive factor too. I mean, I guess in hockey it's a little more prevalent than it is in figure skating, but like I know the bounces on the boards in my home rink much better than I know the bounces on the professional rink that I'm playing at, where the puck bounce is different, the rink's different temperature, the ice is different, which is at the Olympic level, every rink is going to be regulated the same way, whatever. So it's slightly different for that, but it is a factor, like you mentioned, that being home or not. Speaking of homes, Yuri was born in Hasetsu, so I was close. I was close
Okay.
with Hansetsu or Katsetsu, whatever I said. Hasetsu, which, funnily enough, is in the Saga Prefecture in Kyushu, which
Hey.
Saga is where Zombieland Saga takes place, which is also an anime that is supposed to be a marketing campaign
That's
to
being
get
funded
people
by a prefecture, yes.
Okay.
that's getting funded by the same
amazing.
prefecture
Dude,
that this
these
is in.
Japanese are doing some next
They know
level
what they're doing
marketing.
and it's working.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
if you are
clearly
in
Saga
charge,
knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Saga
You're in
is the
charge of
only place
Saga.
that's doing this.
Mm.
Saga marketing, turn this off. Turn it off because I love the original anime. It's great. This
Yeah.
isn't working. This for sure
No, we didn't
doesn't
remember
work
it.
at all. Like I have no desire, like especially with Zombieland Saga, I have never thought like, wow, I need to go visit that place. Like at least this has the hot spring going for it.
Yeah.
I'm not like,
we can make
Maybe
a
it works
connection
for the
right.
Japanese. Who knows?
Dude, we can make a connection right now. Like two things that I do not care about that are funded by a prefecture are idols and ice skating, both funded by Saga, both two incredible shows. Go watch Zombieland Saga.
yeah, no, they do know how to make. I mean, they're good. They're good for that. You know what? So I mean,
And they're both Mappa. Holy shit! Wait a minute.
Wow,
We just-
the pieces
Is
are
it-
coming
is Mappa
together.
Lair-
everything is
Saga?
coming together. I just
Like an
occurred to me.
Illuminati thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
where's
connected the
Mappa
triangle.
Studios?
Is it in Saga?
What's
Somebody
that?
find
Is
out.
it Mappa?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
let's find out.
Hang on. So what prefecture is Attack on Titan advertising?
Uh,
Nazi Germany?
Mappa is
Nazi
in
Germany.
Mappa is in Tokyo.
Tokyo.
sadly.
damn it,
So
Illuminati.
two of the pieces of the Illuminati puzzle are there. The third one did not show up, unfortunately. Response question to Miles, real quick. What's Belle's hometown in Twilight?
Oh, Forks.
Good for you. I looked that up.
Yeah.
Why
We
do
already-
you
so
just
we did come full circle.
remember that?
we got our Twilight plug
Came
in.
to Twilight.
Yeah.
Why
Yep.
do you just
Twilight.
remember that?
I
lived in
looked it
Washington
up
for
because
4
I was
years.
curious.
Yeah, Miles
Yeah,
went to
that's
school in Washington,
good for you for figuring that one out. Do you remember what state she was from before then?
Arizona.
Florida?
Then you fucker. I asked Miles.
Oh, my
Okay,
bad.
It's fine.
Was it
Wow.
Arizona? Okay, I got it wrong. I guess Florida.
I thought
you
this
get
was an
Florida? There you
anime podcast, not a
Yeah,
young
Twilight's my
adult
favorite anime.
novel.
We got really
let's
into
talk
Twilight.
about Yuri on Ice a little bit more, though, because this
Okay.
show is
Wait,
not
hold
full of
on.
Arcade Battlefront and does not deserve to be sidetracked until like a 10-minute Twilight
I
discussion.
want to talk Twilight now.
Yeah, we'll have a podcast on it, Pete.
All right.
Like unironically, I want to do that.
I know. We
oh,
should. We should
Yeah.
do it.
No, we
Okay.
shouldn't.
No,
Stop.
you're not invited, Pat. This is me and Miles. We're
I'm
talking Twilight.
glad. I don't want to be invited.
So, my God,
What are we talking about again?
I
we were
don't
talking
know.
about the
We're
setting.
talking about
and we ended up here.
I also like Yuri on Ice, I don't know.
So, the front of this, like the big part of this is characters, right? So, unless anyone has other points they want to like get into, I think we should get into like our character discussions.
Yes.
I just have one pun about how the show keeps you on edge.
Okay.
So all of my fellow skaters out there can understand that
That was a
pun.
very
and
nice.
Thank
My
you. I'm proud of
lesbian friend said that the show was also horrible false advertising since it's a yaoi called Yuri on Ice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thought that I had
So
as
if we're
well.
just making
I
jokes
will-
about it.
I would be lying if I have not looked up the word Yuri for other reasons, and this came up.
Yeah. The show's music as well was just fucking phenomenal.
so
Like,
it was so
it's
good.
so good. Like not
So
just the
good.
OP, not just the OPs, not just like the background music, the performance music, the OST in general. Even the ED is just awesome.
The
I
ED
was
is
blown away.
awesome. It reminds me of like a 2003 like R&B song or something.
Like a dance
probably
mix, kinda.
unfortunately by like Chris Brown. Like, you know, I don't want to like plug
Unfortunately.
Chris Brown, but
Featuring
like,
R. Kelly.
it just right. Like, it kind of reminds me of like in another timeline that song is Forever by Chris Brown. Like that's just that song. But
yeah,
like
characters,
I know
I'm ready to talk about it though.
Kayla loves that. We're trying to figure out if we can make History Maker our first dance somehow. But it seems like a little
Ooh.
difficult. Um,
That's a
it-
tough dance.
yeah,
song.
it's because like I think we would need
Unless
to be
you're on
really
skates.
good at dancing, and we're not. Well,
I
I'm
am.
not.
I'll
Okay.
dance.
Yeah, I'll just sub
Yeah,
you in.
show
Pete.
us your dancing.
Let me just sub you in for that. Not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're both white.
So, okay, Johnny has one last point, and then we'll get to characters.
All right, so I think like one of the really strong points about this show, and that's why like I think like all of us here weren't really interested in figure skating. Like, am I right there?
You are correct.
Yep.
I hated
Maybe
it.
AK.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like figure skating a little bit.
Okay,
I watched it during the Olympics.
but like none of us are like like the fans
No.
that we see in the show.
No.
So I think one of the reasons why like the show like captivated us so much is like the things that they show us can be related to like any sports. Like in any sport, there are like specific things that you need to get good at. It's like in basketball, you need to know how to dribble. In soccer, you need to know how to kick the damn ball. Like in hockey, you got to know how to skate. But
A couple more things, but yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So like all these intricate things, like they show us that like a lot of these figure skaters, they also take ballet because like it's part of like making sure that they're flexible, they know how to move, and like they all like practice nonstop, like doing these little things over and over again. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so easy to relate, because any sport is like that, where like almost anything you do, there are like little things they have to get good at, and then it's about combining them to like really like in this case put on a show. But in other sports, it's to play the game and then like be as best as you can. So like yeah, that's just something I want to bring up because I think that's a really strong part of the show.
For sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So characters. The characters in this show are absolutely phenomenal. We meet honestly quite a few characters, and I guess like to start off the conversation on characters, how do you guys think they did fleshing out our like tertiary characters?
Ooh,
You
can I
know?
start? Because
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
thought they did an amazing, like an incredible job with Pikit, the guy from Thailand, and how he started his journey to being a ice skater was he watched like his favorite childhood movie was about ice skating. And he's from a land that ice skating doesn't exist because Thailand is super hot all the time. And he had this dream of being this character from a movie that he like resonated with. And I thought that was a fantastic way of like drawing somebody's dream from like an area of where like ice skating doesn't exist. It's like how does somebody like that get involved in this hobby? And that's it. And I was like, that is so smart. Like, I don't know. That's to me, I thought that was just incredible. I had to throw it out there.
Yeah. I really liked it. The characters as well. I think maybe there's too many almost. At some points I was thinking that, especially near the end, because I think near the end you've met so many characters that you're trying to figure out outside of the main three, the two Yuris and Victor. You're trying to figure out who is supposed to be the other focal point of this story, and I feel like obviously because there's the final six at the Grand Prix, it's going to be those six are going to be the focus of the final arc, but it does it almost feels like they had just a few too many because but they're all interesting and they are all well done. But I don't know. Again, maybe it's just because it was only a 12-episode anime
No,
rather than a full series that continues to flesh out these characters in another Grand Prix cycle or at the Olympics or something else, like another competition. I did feel at certain points where I was just like, man, I really want to know more about this character. And they're just gone from the show, or they're a spectator for the rest of the show. So a good
Mhm.
example would be like the kid that he competed against at his qualifying event
Yeah.
with the hair. Like he basically became just his cheerleader, which is like, yeah, that's what he was supposed to be, and that's
Mhm.
what he kind of was. But I don't know, like did he have to be in the show? Taking up screen time when I could have been looking at Jock.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always want to look at Jock, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But like,
yeah,
I
me
will
too.
say, what I liked about that kid was that I think he formed a function, and it was to help give Yuri some confidence because Yuri always viewed himself as that kid, and then once he realized through Victor, like, kind of yelling at him that he was someone's Victor, um, like he was this kid's Victor, and once he put himself in that frame of mind, he sort of grew confidence, because the whole thing's about Yuri's confidence and everything.
Right.
So I think that, one, I do agree with you. I mean, but two, I think like the nature of how the show is set up is we just kind of have to have this many characters because
Right.
like, you're not going to have the same 6 in all of these competitions. So I just think that he that one kid wasn't a waste of screen time, but I also do think that, like, I don't like the Korean guy probably was.
I was about to mention, like, why is the Korean guy also in the show?
Yeah.
And then why is the Chinese child, the younger Chinese skater, is he not the same exact purpose or character as the Japanese kid that looked up to him? Like they're both just like fanboys, or they're both like very young and talented skaters, but they're just they're
Yeah,
juniors. They're
y-
not. They don't need to be in the show. That's where I was just like, all right, again, I loved them. They were fun. They were cute. They were there and functional, but they also just ate up screen time
Yeah, I think you
as
could have
well.
skipped some of the earlier people's skating routines and stuff to
Mhm.
flesh out, like, the kid with the hair more and some of the other competitors that we might not
Yeah.
get to see as much more, because, like, I did love the skating parts, but I don't think every episode needed 6 skating parts. Like,
No,
sure.
4
they did not.
would have been
I
fine.
don't think every episode had 6.
It felt like
No,
it.
but like the ones that
They're
had
long,
skating
though.
had quite a few. Because like towards the end, especially, they go short routine, free routine, short routine, free routine, fun episode where they're all getting dinner together and stuff, short routine, free routine. So, and you just had like 6 in all of those. And sometimes they did, like, if a character wasn't important, they would like have their interview or whatever during it. And then it'd be like, oh no, this person like exploded during their event. They're never advancing. But like,
Well, Chris exploded and he advanced.
he did. Yeah.
Fun.
That's- so true.
Well done, Johnny. Well done.
Okay,
That's
so
an internet high
AK, it
five.
seems you have a least favorite character.
Okay,
You'd like to discuss.
Well, you were talking about how there were like character storylines that they went into during an episode
is it
that
the
you thought
Italian guy?
is
Oh
he
no,
the
no,
one
he
who?
no, he was a. Oh no, yeah. He was
I'm guessing. I'm
Italian.
just trying to guess who your least favorite
Yeah.
character was.
Okay, you can have your. Okay, so does anybody else have any guesses?
The
Uh,
Italian
I'm guessing
sitcom.
it's the
the
Italian guy.
Kazakhstan guy.
I
don't know.
don't know if he's Italian. It's the guy who had this weird lore with his sister.
Yes!
Oh,
yeah,
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 the
yeah,
Italian
yeah.
guy.
It's the Italian
Like
guy.
that.
Okay,
I thought that was. I did like. There were so many like. Let go of your past, like move on from like that's what I got out of that. Like let go of your past, like let go of like he had this great connection with his sister, but she has to do her thing, he has to do his thing. They didn't have to make it so creepy, and they went into it like really hard, and I did
Yes.
not like it.
Okay,
See,
I want to point this out really quick because Pete and I discussed this, and Pete said, and I quote,
Oh,
"It
no.
really didn't seem like he was that into it."
Okay,
I will
there-
take Pete's side. I will
The-
take Pete's
what?
side in this argument because I wrote down the brother sister love thing isn't weird for once in anime, probably because they're Italian rather than Japanese. I thought
Just because they're Italian, they can do it.
that's what I literally wrote down in my
No.
notes.
Oh,
when I was
that's
watching.
amazing.
Just because
Because
they're
to me-
Italian,
That's
you can-
amazing.
Because to me, while I was watching it, so the way at first it started, and I was just like, "Oh brother, here we go again," or oh Aniki, here we go again, right? Like,
brother.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
Hold on,
Onechan.
hold on.
Done.
I
Do
got,
you,
I got,
you
I
have
got the,
one?
I
You
got
have the soundboard clip ready? I tried
Yeah.
to give you time
What
for
are
it,
you
but
doing, step bro?
There you go.
we need to get Johnny saying
Yeah,
that. 'cause
okay,
that's his
there we
favorite
go.
joke.
No.
But yeah, at first I was like, "Oh no, here we go again." But then it actually
Mhm.
goes into their backstory, and I'm like, "Oh, he means it in like a protective, like he even literally says, I don't love you in like a romantic way. This is the love that only a family member can have for one another, like that kind of thing." And he goes, which of course, does he take it a little too far? Yeah, but that's the whole point of him, right? Is that he needs to learn that he's taking it too far, and needs to be less
Mhm.
protective of her.
Yeah.
That's
You know
why
who
I
else said
liked
that?
it a lot.
Cersei Lannister. Anyways,
Who- is that a Game of Thrones reference? I'm
Oh
guessing?
yeah,
Yeah,
the twins
yeah,
are
okay.
fucking. Spoiler
Uh,
alert.
she,
for
Maybe-
episode
fucked her
one.
cousin. She fucked her twin. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe because it's ice skating and they used to be ice skating partners, and something about ice skating is very intimate. Especially like they didn't do a lot of partner ice skating in this show.
Yeah.
But it's a very intimate activity.
No,
Yeah,
think
so like, why would you do it with your
have-
sister?
I have an older brother, and if he said any of that stuff, like he can be protective of me, but he was like not allowing her to have boys talk to her.
Yeah.
And like as a female, like that's just weird. That is so weird.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I think if anyone's like, if they're like, this is my sister and no man is worthy of her, only I can speak to her. I'm like, oh, you're fucking your sister. That's like,
That's an anime perspective. I don't know. I
and
thought
I
that,
know that's
Well,
not an anime
have you
perspective.
seen the
That would be
European
weird if
Royal
it was a
Family
live
Pack?
action movie too. Like, because one, the sister was super not into it compared to him. The sister had like a very normal, like, I care about my
She was
brother.
chill.
Yeah, but like if she needs to say like they're what like 20, and she's like, and I'm gonna date guys. Something about that relationship is incorrect.
I think
like-
that's what the point though was, is that
I
he-
understand.
I mean, he
It was
needs to
just
learn,
a little
so-
ratcheted up to 20 for me, and I
Mm.
think AK as well.
Very
So-
good point about it being intimate, but the brothers and sisters, from what I do know about figure skating, brothers and sisters often are partners.
They
Yeah,
are.
they are.
They are very commonly
But
partners.
I just think about me and my brother, and there's so many wonderful characters in this show. I could have used 25 more minutes of somebody else.
yeah,
I agree.
I think
that's a
that-
completely fair
yeah.
point.
I think you could have done the brother sister thing. I think the brother was just
brother
too much
sister
for
thing.
me. Like, no, but you could have had like the brother sister relationship thing. But I
Yeah.
think he was just like, the show didn't have like a lot of tropey characters, at least as far as I know, and he was kind of a trope
was very
compared to
tropey.
everyone else.
Mhm, yeah.
Like
He was the
even
only one.
Kristoff, who is like this over sexual guy, didn't feel as tropey as him, and he literally jizzes his pants after he finishes a performance.
Oh, he
And-
finishes, yeah.
Yeah, there's like
Oh,
an
he
absolute
finishes.
great after he finishes his performance, and there's like that awesome shot of his ass, right? Like when he's doing
Mm.
like the swoop, and I
Yeah.
just like I was like, what a great fan service moment. Just
Yeah.
truly wonderful.
That's funny.
The Yaoi Bay in this show was something else.
It was a lot.
Well,
There
let's
was a lot
talk
of
about
it.
this a little bit because I don't think it's yaoi bait because they kiss and they're like
Do they?
dating.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they
in,
kiss.
in episode 7.
This is, if you are listening to it, you can't see it, but my arm is covering my mouth. There's
So-
so many edited pictures of the arm of Victor not being in front of it, so you can actually see them kiss.
So because
And I love
because
it.
of TV censorship laws, they couldn't show them actually kissing because Japan's like a little homophobic, and
Just
a little.
you know, just a little.
Oh.
And so like they for sure kissed. And
Really?
the
So it's
director
like
had to
confirmed.
fight to even have that
Oh, yeah.
scene in. Oh yeah, but that's why, because like it quote unquote takes in place in like a world where there's like no homophobia. That's why the Thai kid was like, "Oh my god, you guys are getting married? Awesome!" You know, like,
Yeah, I thought
and that was
a
just
joke.
like
Like,
just
I
like
don't
a
know, like-
no. I think he genuinely thought they like went and got married because everyone just knew they were like together. They don't like super focus on it, and it is like definitely a little baity, especially towards the beginning.
Very
but
much so at the
In
beginning.
episode
it is,
7, they do kiss, and then
Yeah.
from then on, they're canonically dating each other.
You should. It's really subtle, but when you see like when Victor is on like one side of like the railing and Yuri's on the other, and they're like talking to each other like really close. Like if you ever go back and look where they're like touching each other with their hands. Like it's kind of like what you do in like a relationship. Like
Yeah,
Victor
it's
is
very
like
intimate.
Victor is
yeah.
like rubbing Yuri's like forearm, and it's like very like it's like I did that with my girlfriend. Like it's like very in that
So
type of
much.
setting where it's like a coach and like a skater don't have that relationship unless they're like, you know, in between the sheets type of thing. And
I mean, he literally asked Yuri to sleep with him. So
multiple times. He's like there's
in
like
the
there's
first
like
episode.
yeah, and there's like one scene where they're like on the beach where like Yuri is or Victor is contemplating coming back, and Yuri is contemplating retiring. No, sorry, this is earlier. They're on the beach in like episode like 2, and it's just like, well, could I be your friend? He's like, no. Can I be your coach? No. He's like, well, then can I be your lover? And then Yuri's like, what? You can't say that. Like, are you kidding me? What? And he gets like super red in the face. It's like extremely
adorable.
obvious. Like it's not to the point where it's not really bait because that's where the relationship goes, and that's just like normal flirting. If it was between like a boy and a girl, you wouldn't bat an eye type of thing. Where it's like they're clearly not baiting. This is clearly what it is.
Huh.
Yeah, they're
I
like,
don't know, like-
they're canonly like in a
I-
relationship, and
I
like,
did not know that. I kind of thought that they were
Just ice
close.
skating.
They
I
do
thought they
have
were
to
just
like
very close and
skate
not.
around it
Well,
because
that's what
of
I'm saying. Yeah,
Japan.
they skate around it, but like I don't know. I feel like that hasn't stopped Japan in the past with censorship things. I mean, I don't know. That's why I guess if
Isn't there like a whole like industry based on yaoi?
Yeah, but
yeah,
okay,
of
one
course.
yaoi is like very not romantic. Generally, it's like kind of
Sexual.
sexualized. It's usually targeted towards women, kind of like Yuri's targeted towards men. And I believe the director of this, I mean, obviously wanted some like of that fan servicey stuff that's in there, but like wanted to do just like a relationship. You know, sort of like a oh god, what's the Yuri show that came out recently that wasn't awful?
blew
Blew
into
into
you.
you?
That's the
I'm
one. Thank
guessing,
you.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely not citrus.
Yeah, not
Not-
citrus.
yeah,
That's
no,
what I
that
thought
one's
you were
terrible.
saying.
Yeah,
No,
ew.
that's my second lowest rated show ever. I think. Yeah.
Oh my god. And so like, yeah, I think that and I don't know how like the like ratings, like maybe because it was an advertising show about this town, they didn't want it to get like TVMA or whatever the equivalent is in Japan. And if you have the guys kissing, it like automatically bumps it up or whatever. And if you have like too many allusions to a gay relationship, it bumps it up or whatever. Um, AK, you have a question?
Well, it's a question for Pat. So, what did
Yeah.
you think of the scene in Barcelona where they exchange rings? Like, did
I-
that not come across gay to you at all? Like,
It
that
was
was like,
extremely gay, but again, the entire time I was just sitting there like thinking like, okay, they're implying that they may have feelings for each other that are more than just.
you just
But
didn't think it was as far as like a full-on relationship
I
at that
didn't think
point.
they were canonically dating at all,
Okay.
especially at any point during the show. I didn't think they went
That's
as far because I
crazy.
feel like they
That's-
would have shown it.
yeah.
See, to me, I was sitting there saying, well, if they were actually dating, they would or had actually kissed, they would have shown it on
We
screen.
would
Because
see
to
them
me,
naked together.
or well, not even that, just they kissed
We
because.
have.
But yeah, but there is a
But we
kiss scene
haven't.
though.
But we haven't though.
There's a
We-
kiss
There is a
scene.
kiss
It's in
scene.
episode
No,
7.
No, we have.
That they kiss.
no,
They
no,
kiss.
no.
And,
That's not the same thing. That's
I'm
not a
saying-
kiss.
We've literally seen them naked
Okay,
together like
hey,
4
That's
times.
not
Pat,
the same
Pat,
thing at all
Pat.
because that's not explicit in
let
the
me
were
ask
show.
you.
pole
Let me ask
dancing
you this question:
together.
if
The
a
pole
tree
dancing is so funny.
if a
That was
tree
a really funny scene.
if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did the tree fall?
That is an terrible logical fallacy to use
That's
in this
like Pete.
situation.
That's like saying if you had sex with a guy but no one else knows, are you gay?
Yeah,
What?
Yeah, answer the question,
That's-
Pete. There you
Yeah,
go.
answer
Exactly.
the
It's,
question,
it's
Pete.
also a terrible logical fallacy.
Yeah, it's
It's
2021.
the same
No,
thing as
what,
you are,
question.
though.
what I'm trying
just-
what I'm
anyway.
trying to say is like just I don't know, like does it have to be like in your like I don't know. I feel like if it's not like directly in your face, it doesn't happen. It's like the logic I'm kind of getting from you. We're like
I
even
will
though
say,
they do
other
kiss.
people have been confused by this. Pat is not the only person.
No,
I
for
don't
sure.
think
Okay, yeah, to
Googled
be
it.
fair, I get the point it's coming like because I didn't know they were in a relationship either. I thought they were just like doing the standard anime thing. It's like
Well,
I guess my best
what's-
I guess my best analogy is like at the end of like Fate Unlimited Blade Works. It's like is Rin and Shiro
Hey,
It's very obvious. It's
hey,
It doesn't
no.
spoil anything.
Spoilers,
It doesn't
thank
spoil
you.
anything. Trust me. It doesn't
No,
spoil
well, okay, yeah, just the fact that at the end of a show that 2 characters are still alive in a deathmatch show. But anyways,
It's
that
fucking
doesn't matter.
Fate.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
Yeah,
right?
lots
Yeah,
of
because
people
it's
die
Fate.
in Fate.
Yeah, a
Like-
ton of people die. I've watched Fate Zero now. I can say a lot of people die in Fate. But my big thing was, you're saying like, oh, will they? Won't? Well, that was what my whole thought of the show was. Is this constant? Will they actually ever kiss and actually become intimate with each other, rather than just this like slow build up towards
Oh.
them becoming so physically? Again, because like I don't know, you can be physically like romantic or intimate with someone without necessarily having it become a romantic like a full-on relationship or
Could it
a
be
kiss, I
me?
guess. I mean, yeah, thanks. But you get my point though, right? Like where it's like I don't know. Again, I saw them. It was like, oh wow, now they're holding each other. They're embracing the hug. When he gets off the ice, like oh my god, they're really close. But are they gonna kiss? Are they gonna take that step or that leap into um they're in their relationship, which again, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I didn't think that they had like gay feelings for each other at all. Like obviously I can tell that they well, it is possible that they have those feelings for each other, but I also think it's very possible that they feel just a very deep love for each other, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that they were gay for each other. Although again, if they literally showed them kissing in the show, that would be different for me. But again, from my viewing of it, I didn't see a hug where their arms are and mouths are like this as a kiss. You know,
So
that's a dab to me. It's
like the
not
two lips coming close. Anyway, the point they did have to hide that. So the
the
fact
two
that you
lips
miss-
coming close, and then it's a bait. That's why I thought it was a bait, because I was just
it's
like,
not a
it
bait.
didn't
Because
happen.
it's just they couldn't show them kissing. They needed censorship in the way.
I guess so. That's too bad. That ruins the show
It does
for me.
suck that
That sucks.
that has to be the case, and the director was like really upset about it. You know, and she had to fight to even get that scene in the show.
Yeah.
So, you know, progress is slow.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in Yuri on Ice season 2, if that ever happens,
Please.
There's
we
a
can
movie coming out.
There is.
see the movie's coming out, but it's a prequel, so we're not going to get to see him make out. But maybe we'll see Victor make out with someone else.
Maybe Chris? Maybe Chris?
Mm,
Because it's mentioned that they compete with each other all the time throughout like their history. like,
I believe it.
and if you saw
anyways,
how they interact with each other, kinda wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe
Well,
that's
that's
the
how
reason why you keep
Kristoff
promoting him,
interacts with
too.
everybody, though.
Yes.
So I feel like that's kind of his
Yeah.
bit, his character is
Maybe.
that, oh, he's just a sex appeal
machine.
He's a
Machine.
love machine, and he
Weird.
won't work for nobody but anybody.
So
Mhm.
another character I would like to talk about is, I guess, like in how their relationships develop with people is Yurio's. Because I like the scene where he has his grandpa make a pork cutlet bowl, like pierogi or whatever,
Stromboli,
the
yeah.
stromboli, whatever, the Russian dish, whatever it is, for Yuri is just like such a wonderful scene to me, because he's such a cold person, and like that act of like kindness just like really shows that he has this friendship for him, and he does care about him despite him calling him fat all the time and stuff.
Fat pig, yeah.
Yeah, you piggy.
A prushki? Is that what it was called? A prushki?
I
Something
don't
like that?
remember.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't
Yeah.
pierogies. Those are
Not a pierogi?
Polish.
Okay, that's the
They're
only
not
thing
Isn't
that
that
I
like
know.
Italian?
Pierogies are Polish, I believe, but yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Polish.
Yeah. Russia, Poland.
Same thing, yeah.
According to Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I really like that. Did you guys have like any moment of like a character developing or like a breakthrough sort of thing that they did that like really resonated with you that isn't part of your best boy discussion?
Ooh.
Because we'll get to that
no.
later.
I
have
can't
one.
speak then.
Yeah,
Johnny.
it's about JJ.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like I think one of my favorite scenes in the show is we see that like he's presented the entire time as like the guy with like the most confidence and like the most skill going into like the Grand Prix. Like he's the guy who like had the balls to have like 6 jumps or whatever in one single like short program or whatever. And like everyone says like, oh, he's like mechanically flawless and we all need to like improve to get better than him. And then we see him mess up towards the end because of all the pressure, because it's like as much as people like want to be at the top, when you're at the top, you have the most pressure on you. Like everyone expects you to succeed, and like sometimes you just don't. Like it's the most nerve-wracking place to be, and it's like a lot of other shows, like the person at the top is like always super overconfident and like they seem to just know what they're doing. But like I really like how they showed like being at the top really does make you feel a lot more vulnerable.
I think that you know, Pat and I will probably get into this a little bit later, but I definitely agree with you. I think that they did a really good job of showing that sort of like isolation you feel when you have like expectations on you, and how that can sort of mess you up. I thought they did a very good job with that.
I think they have that with all the characters, and I won't talk too much because my best boy has some stuff with that. But I think they all have their own version of how the intensity of the game affected them. Everybody had it affect them differently, either isolating or insecurities, or like, because I think Yuri what's the main Yuri's last name? Is he Plisetsky or is he
Katsuki.
Thank you. He, I think it affected him more in like an insecure way. Like every time he failed, he was like, I'm horrible at the game. I'm no good. I'm like, dude, you're in these intense competitions of this game. Like you were saying before, I don't know if we talked about this before we started going live, but we were saying like, think of like college football, like the worst, or even like professional football, the worst of the dude on the Patriots, as a Patriots fan, the worst dude on the Patriots could absolutely obliterate any of us playing football. But they probably think that they're horrible because they're not starting. So like he has this like crazy insecurity about himself because, oh, I'm no good. Like I fail all the time. I need to retire. I need to do all these things. But like realistically, like he is phenomenal, and just the game affected him in that way versus you have someone like JJ where like they have almost too much confidence where that affected him negatively later on, because then when he started to do bad, he was like, oh no, like all these people who love me so much for my confidence and my ability will no longer love me because I don't have that confidence and ability anymore, which you end up finding out like, no, they still love him because he's just a wonderful person. And yes, I did cry when everybody else was singing along to JJ's best, whatever the song is that
Theme
they
of
sing.
King JJ.
Yes, I love it so much. But yeah, I like to see how like the game affected, or the sport affected all of the characters in different ways. I thought that was very interesting because I've never been that intense into anything before. Like I've never had something like that intense in my life that I guess would affect me in that way.
Not at all. I mean, I always think that's interesting that like these people have like so much dedicated their lives to this sport and stuff, and it defines so much of them. And like the thing I've dedicated the most to my life is like, I guess, like chemistry, or like telling people to read Human Echo. It's like one of those two.
It's
and,
one
like,
of those two. Yep.
I really don't care about either of them that much. I do care about both of them, but it's just like, I don't know. Like I'm not going to the Olympics for either of them. So, like, like I guess like like interpersonal relationships and like my family and stuff. I think like most people are like by far and away the most important thing in my life. And when you're so dedicated to something like this that it kind of like rivals those things, and like those things become so intertwined, it's an interesting dynamic. And I've just never been into anything enough to do that, I guess. But I do think that's
It's not too late, Miles.
Stop what?
I said it's not too late.
It's not too late? Yeah, okay.
You got that drive, you got that passion burning inside of you. You just gotta find it. Maybe it's anime podcasting. Who knows?
Oh, can't wait. We're
probably
to
is
the
too late
top.
for
The hero awaits. The hero awaits.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
something. There you go. Whatever. Ping pong reference. Go watch our ping pong episode. But yeah, I guess it's about time. Let's get into our best boy.
Yay.
We could do best girl as well, because there are some pretty
I think
badass
there's like
females.
one super correct answer for best girl, but we can discuss it.
I think there's a lot of correct answers, honestly, because I think there's one super correct one as well, and then there's a bunch of like just awesome. Again, these characters are so strong in this show. There's like hardly any that aren't worthy of like a best whatever title. But Miles, why don't you start us off? What have you got for best boy and best girl?
Okay, so
Or best girl first, since best boy is the one that matters. Really.
Sure.
Wow,
My best
sexist.
girl
I'm
is
sorry. You already knew that, I guess. I don't know.
Let me make sure I'm getting the right one. See, I don't know. I didn't think the female characters were like super strong. I enjoyed them, but like, I mean, obviously the focus was very much on the male ones. I think my favorite female character is Minako, who's his like friend who like owned the skating
ballet.
rink.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, and I think came with him to like Barcelona and drank a lot. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I thought she was very fun. I also like Yuko, who is like his at home friends. I
It's
was
like his ballet teacher, right?
No, Yuko is the one that marries the other friend.
Oh,
that
yeah,
owned the skating rink. You know, the ones that he grew up learning how to figure skate with is the
Yep,
person out with.
gotcha.
Like his former teammates or classmates, whatever.
Yeah, and so for best boy, is very important to me. It's King JJ.
Yep.
JJ style. I love him. If you watched our Violet Evergarden episode, you know that I am a cold ball of harshness,
True.
impossible to crack.
True.
I thought none of that was sad. The show affected me in essentially no way.
Miles is a
I
robot.
cried. The first time I watched this, I cried in episode 11 during the King JJ scene. And then this watch through, I cried in episode 7 the first time he did his short program, thinking about how episode 11 was coming up. I was just like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to watch this in like
Amazing.
4 episodes again. And I was just so emotional because I knew he was going to like fail upcoming and stuff, and it just like affected me so much. And why that is because like you know, I'm also a pretty cocky guy.
What? You?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, really?
No.
And so like I resonate with that a little bit, but what I just like him being so concerned about like his performance and how people would only care about him because of like his like skill at things or his ability to like perform well at things, and the support his parents gave him, that his fiance gave him, that his fans gave him, everyone. I mean, he was just shit in the bed, like completely, and everyone was still cheering and singing for him and stuff. And he, you know, kind of had this realization that like he has this support system. You know, like his parents even talk about like it doesn't matter how he finishes, like he is supportive for him as he can be. And like, you know, I have phenomenal parents, and you know, not everyone's that lucky, but like I have great parents. I have a wonderful fiance who, you know, supports me through a bunch of hard times and all of that stuff. And I don't have a ton of adoring fans yet. But one day if I do, I hope that they too will support me if I ever have a bad podcast episode.
Do you want them to make a song for you?
Yeah, and honestly, like one day I want the top rock band in Canada, which I think is probably
you want your own
Nickelback.
It's Nickelback. Or Sum 41.
To write me a song. But like I was just so touched by this moment and just so genuinely happy for this man that he could learn that he had these people who cared for him, because I think one of the most important things in life is having people there to support you and care for you and be there when you're at your weakest. And you know, I've had some times in my life where like I have just like, so I have really bad OCD. This is completely different than performing at the top of, it's not really bad OCD. I have OCD. This is different than performing at the top figure skating. But one of my issues is that I get obsessions, and when I can't stop thinking about things, it like very much takes over my life. So one of the things I obsess over is my impending death, our march towards oblivion.
Mortality. Yes.
And
Yuri on Ice.
God, I
hope you guys are ready for a downer of an episode. And so like I had this point where I couldn't even like drive, and I was trying to go to work one day. I was just like sitting in my car and crying, and like my dad came out, saw something that was wrong, and I had been like hiding that I was like so afraid all the time and stuff from my parents, and he was just immediately supportive, called my work for me, explained that I couldn't come in for like a while, made a whole bunch of doctor's appointments for me to go see a therapist and, you know, go see my general practitioner and stuff. And like, you know, that's obviously different than like doing shitty at figure skating, but like I was afraid of not having a support system, and when I found out that I did, it was just the most relieving thing in the entire world. And I felt like, okay, I can actually accomplish this now, and I can eventually achieve my goals or whatever, because I have the support. I have my family and I have my friends and everything. And you know, just someone else going through a similar thing where they realize they have this just makes me so happy. Like I could tear up right now talking about it. It's great.
Looking like me at
God,
the Violet
so-
Evergarden episode.
Yeah, Violet
me.
Evergarden, nothing for me. I not a thing. King JJ though, fucking turn on the waterworks. Yeah, so that's a little bit TMI about Miles's life, and whoever can go next.
Johnny, what's your best boy and girl?
Who was
best
the
girl
girl
and
that
boy.
was like the parent of like the triplets?
That
I
was
forgot her, I
Yuko.
forgot her name.
Yuko.
Yeah.
Yuko.
Yuko. Okay, yeah, she's my best girl. It's just
Good choice.
I don't really have much to say, honestly. It's just she's my best girl.
Your best boy?
So like this is the more important one, obviously.
Yes.
Sexist. Yeah.
Like by a mile. So my best boy is actually like I also love JJ because he's probably the first Canadian person I've ever seen in anime. I mean,
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
I'm not technically Canadian, but I live here, so I guess that's close enough.
Close enough.
You have
Yeah.
some pride in where you're from, right? Or where you live. Yep.
I mean, where I'm from, it's
Who's your best boy, Johnny?
it's okay. Anyways, yes. Okay, so my best boy is Yuri. The
It's a
Russian
great
Yuri.
choice.
Yeah, so like I think his story is such a compelling one because he comes in, he's like the rising star. He's like the youngest person, and he's already like broken world records and stuff. But at the same time, he's not like overly. Actually, no, he is overly cocky, but he does it in a way where it's like he respects that everyone else around him is just as good, so he knows that he needs to do better. It's not the overconfidence, like, oh, I don't need to work because I know I'm just too good and I'm just gonna be better than everyone. He worked probably the hardest out of anyone in the show, and it paid off because at the end, spoilers, he won. Like he literally got like a professional ballet where he worked his ass off every single day, and even though he knew that like he was probably better than them, he just still had to work. He had to do everything he could to win, and I honestly think that's really respectable because like, and this is probably going a bit too into my life as well. Like,
Bring it on. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Our
so, like,
therapy session tonight. Let's go.
well, okay, not as much as Miles, but like, I kind of have the thing where like a lot of things I do where it's like I'm better than average at a lot of things, so then I get overconfident and I think that I don't have to work as hard as other people, so then I end up doing worse. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened? And it's just like, well, I'm a lazy bitch. What can I say? It's like
True.
just because you have the talent doesn't mean you don't need to put in the hours. It's like you gotta work at something in order to do great things, and that's something that like honestly, that's even someone who doesn't have talent, they can be better than someone who does just because they worked hard at it. And honestly, that's what I need to learn is that like maybe I do have talent, but I still need to work hard for it, and that's exactly what Yuri did. So I really think that like his story resonated with me, and that's why he's my best boy. Yeah.
Yeah,
pick,
I
good
think
pick.
that a great thing that shows that about him is how he's like, I think he immediately respects Japanese Yuri as competition.
Mhm.
Like very
Mhm.
quickly, and he realizes he needs to like work hard to beat him. And like even when other Yuri is like our main Yuri is like fat, and they're like doing the first like thing on like the hot spring that he ends up losing to him against, he recognizes like I need to work hard for this. He has like a very good work ethic, as you mentioned, and he's always just like grinding, right? And like I
Yeah.
think that's like a very admirable trait. Good pick, Johnny.
Very
I also this probably doesn't have to do with the character, but I thought his scenes in the figure skating moments were the best, like in terms of how they looked.
So good.
Yeah,
His
that's
costume
great.
was great. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
And also like his movements, I thought they
I agree.
they looked super.
I liked his
good.
leopard print jacket a lot. So
Yeah, that was good.
Awesome.
That he bought in Japan
like
when
the
he
white one
landed.
more.
It was like, oh, that's stylish, and then bought it
I
immediately.
might be mistaken, but Yurio was like the only one we did like flips, put like his arm in the air, and they like recognized that in like the commentaries, like he put his arm in the air, that's worth more points. And I didn't
Yes,
hear
you're
that.
not, like,
it makes
working
sense because it's a
yourself.
ballet move,
Yeah.
and like he was learning
Yeah.
it from a
I didn't
ballet
hear that from anybody
instructor.
else, so that was like a really cool like little thing that how he separated himself from everybody else.
Yeah. So Pete, what have you got for best girl and then best boy?
Best girl, I'm actually gonna give it to three of them, the triplets, Axel, Lutz, and Loop. I thought they were a great comic
Wait, they
relief.
had names.
Yes, they are named Axel, Lutz, and Loop, all named
When
after
did they
figure skating
say
moves.
that?
They
Like
thought
once at the very beginning.
once it's
Yeah.
also on their Mal. So I'm gonna go do the exact opposite route of Miles and Johnny. But when I think best boy, a lot of time it's just like the character that maybe not the best character in the entire show, because I think like the dramatic elements of like Victor and Yuri like make it so like they're the best overall character. But for me, for what I think best boy is like the character that I liked the most when I saw them on the screen, and that is Chris from Switzerland. And for two specific quotes
horny
and one specific
motherfucker.
reason. There is a scene where he is in 5th place and he's getting interviewed and he says, I'm used to this. I'm used to coming from behind. And I laughed my ass off when he said that.
God damn.
I thought that was
Oh my
one of
God.
the that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I got laughed so hard I had to pause it. And then like 2 episodes later, he's in his apartment and somebody's coming over to pick up his cat and he goes, "You always come so early." And I also got laughed and had to pause it, and it was just incredible. And then like the specific scene, I mean, yes, the jizz in your pants scene was great, but I really loved his interaction with.
Was it great?
Oh,
I
it was
didn't
incredible, absolutely
You
incredible.
thought it was
incredible.
something
You do
needed
something-
to be in the show.
You do so,
I honestly, I want to do so well at something that I just come my pants.
yeah,
Like
You should be a
What
porn
a
star
world.
then.
it was so good. But I really loved just like he never like stopped being himself. He was always his
That's
character. There was 2 scenes, one where he is with Victor at the swimming pool, and they just like he's like, "I'm sexy, take
God.
pictures of me." And
I
then there's
love that scene so much.
and then there's the bonus scene where you see drunk Yuri the year before, and he does the stripper pole stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so fun because it's like, yeah, look at naked and dance on this
Also,
pole.
why do they have a stripper pole at like?
Who
a dance
knows?
club?
Like it's
Oh,
I don't
good
know.
point.
It was funny. Yeah.
Great
So
question.
So
Chris
funny.
made me like gut laugh so hard. His entire presence on the show was incredible, and over as he may not be the most like dramatic character in it, just every time he was on the TV screen, I was like tuned in, and I loved it. So yeah, Chris is my best boy.
Fair enough. All right, AK, what about you?
I love that answer, Pete. That's such a good one.
I love how you
but-
came to that conclusion.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Leave the jokes to me, Johnny.
Why? Yeah, because you are a resident clown. I see.
Yes.
Johnny, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Yurio is my favorite
Let's
boy,
go.
but for different reasons. The thing that I liked about him is his friendships and relationships with other people. I thought were just awesome because I thought he came like if they didn't have that, he would have just been kind of an ass. He would have been. Am I allowed to say ass?
Fuck no.
Who the
but
fuck do
he
you think
was
you are?
he was an asshole. Like he was
Yeah.
so obsessed with the game, and if they didn't have any of his relationships with other people, then he would have not been a good character. But the like Miles, you said before, you were talking about the scene where he decided to make the pierogi and make it like a pork cutlet bowl and give it to Yuri, was just like a tiny little moment where you're like, he cares, even though like about this friendship with this person who he's so obsessed with beating, even though he comes across as like, I absolutely hate you, you fat piece of shit. Like, but like he
Biggie.
really cares. But also, one of my favorite episodes, besides the JJ episode in episode 11, I think it's episode 9 or 10, where he has the relationship with the Kazakhstan character, I
Yes.
believe he's from.
Episode
And
10.
I love that episode. And I love finding out that, like, he realizes when I take this game too seriously, I become kind of an asshole. And this guy who wanted to be my friend, I came across as an asshole. And, like, he was really upset with himself. So he had to do a lot of, like, self-reflecting to be like, hey, I need to make sure that, like, I care about other people, but if I don't put in the effort to like make a little bit of a connection with people, then they're never gonna know. So then he started to, from that moment on, like make sure that he like added a little bit of extra effort into his friendships, and I thought that was really cute. And I love that they end up going and having dinner together, and everybody's like, "Why are they having dinner together?" And then that's the same episode where Yuri and Victor, they go to the dinner table, and like it was just a really fun episode because not only do you see Yurio grow as a character and like show that emphasis on his relationship and like how he's like, no, like I am a genuinely good guy, like I just take this game really seriously. Then you finally have the scene where like all the competitors are sitting at this table together, and although they all like want to beat each other on the ice, they're all still friends, and they're all sitting at the table together. And like I just like want to just see the like that group of people together for the rest of my life, because like every single one of them like has a purpose in that, like I would say friend group. But I just love Yurio. I think he's wonderful, and like the way they have his relationships really just is awesome. And he's just adorable. And Chin mentioned it in the chat earlier. If the deleted scene that they have in the DVD version of this, where he does a ice rink like routine, where he like has this like cool outfit on and he does this like glove trick with that Kazakhstan guy. If you have not watched it, it is by far the best skate scene in that entire
okay.
show.
Good to
I'll
know.
have to check that out.
It
I
is
didn't know that.
so intense and so good. So I'll show you guys that later. But that was the thing. Actually, I saw that scene before I watched the show. And then when I watched the show, it never happened. And I was like, what the heck was that I just watched? It was so good. But imagine
Did I
like
watched the
ice-
wrong Yuri on Ice? Like
I
what?
literally thought it was.
Yeah,
It was like
where's the
ice skating
half-naked
and,
girls? Yeah.
and rock and roll. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
also
The rock and
Different
roll is
Yuri.
during the King JJ scenes.
Oh, I love JJ. But yeah, Yurio
Shirtless
Yurio's
singing
best
on the
boy.
stage.
That's good. I like that's really good. That's so interesting too that they didn't include that scene. That's weird.
It's like like an extra if you were to buy the DVD,
Right.
which like who buys DVDs anymore? I think it was kind of
Yeah,
an old
what is a
thing.
DVD? What
I
is
don't
that?
know.
Yeah. Oh,
Pete does. Pete buys them.
Whoa! I buy Blu-rays sometimes.
Anyways, all right, yeah, and I'll wrap this up quick because we're going way over time with this, which is okay. That's okay, or we're going to go way over time with everything else we have to talk about. But that again, that's okay. For best girl, again, I agree that it's not like there was any girl that like really stood out, but I really liked his ballet teacher, Yuri's ballet teacher, the Japanese one who was very supportive of him, always there for him when he needed it. Because you do need people like that. But and I guess my true real answer though, especially because it relates so much to Best Boy, I think JJ and his wife or his fiance, at least at that point in the show, they are my best boy and girl overall. Like they are JJ for the same reasons as Miles listed. Like I related to JJ a lot because even if I am not the best at what I'm doing, I have the confidence and believe in myself. I have the utmost faith that what I am doing is correct and that what I am trying to do is my best work or will be my best work, whatever, and that I am correct. Like that is something that I guess was just given to me from a young age, whether that's through the way I was raised or whatever. But I always will have that confidence that I can achieve whatever I want to do, and that what I am doing is the best. And I related a lot to JJ with that. And seeing him failing was not what I expected to see. And but then like I don't know, I didn't nearly get as emotional as Miles did with that scene. It sounds like, but I did tear up when they started singing the song a lot and seeing the crowd singing with him. That was great. I couldn't. That was my favorite scene in the show.
I'm gonna cry thinking about how that scene was coming up.
Yeah, that's
Not
no,
that
I
close,
didn't
not that
quite get that. I did. You see, that's me with Violet. I guess this is you with JJ. That's a good point. I loved that their dynamic, and I don't know, just when they showed her like tearing up and like cheering his name and stuff, and he seeing that like that made me the waterworks start a little bit for me too. So I was just like, wow, this is awesome. I love JJ. I wish I was JJ. Like that's the thought that I had while I was watching the show. Like, damn, this guy is awesome. But yeah, so let's move on to our closing thoughts for Yuri on Ice. So anything that we missed in our discussion that you just wanted to point out quick, let's keep it to a minute to 2 minutes long. And then lastly, your final score out of 10 using the Mal scoring for reference, no half points, even though this show is very tempting for me to give a half point to. I will not. But Miles, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I love this show. I think it's great. Kayla asked me to give her a shout out and say that she loves this show, so I'm going to do that
Yes.
here as well.
Yo, props to
Um,
Kayla.
So, I guess we've talked about a lot of things. Like, I want to say the competitions were really cool. They kept me sort of like on the edge of my seat. I didn't always know who was going to win. The only one that I thought where I knew the ending before it happened was Yurio 1, Yuri 2 at the end. But I was a little surprised to see JJ at 3, so I still got a little bit of a shock there at the end. And Overall, I just very much enjoyed the show. I think you should watch the show if you just like good characters and want to learn some stuff about ice skating. 9 out of 10.
Nice.
9 out of 10 for Miles. Okay, that makes sense. Johnny, what have you got?
Yeah, so I think the show is amazing as well. Like Miles said, all the characters are amazing. It made me realize that like sports anime aren't actually that bad, and maybe I'll go see them. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Maybe I'll find the time. But yeah, like I said, the characters were great. Like the animations, like the animation was good. I feel like, but there are some points, like some certain shots, where this just looks like
I would say it was
What-
condensed. The
Yeah.
great animation was condensed in certain
was.
spots. In other spots,
exactly.
they did a lot of the stuff we learned about in Keep Your
Yes,
Hands Off
in
My Pumpkin.
Isoken, where it's like the repetitive of the pan over of the woman clapping and cheering,
Yeah.
right? That happened so many times in like 2 episodes that I was just like, is this a joke?
I've seen this
like, what's
before,
going on
yeah.
here? Yeah, I've seen this like 20
Yeah.
times. Yeah, that was a good point I was going to bring up in mine too, but continue, Johnny. Sorry.
Yeah, and also I think if we pay attention, like they probably reuse certain frames from every single time, like they do the same dance, like same like choreography, because like they do the same thing every time.
Mhm.
So yeah, like the certain shots, like during the jumps, the animation was really solid, but then like some like it's not bad all the time, but there were some shots that looked a bit iffy. And one more thing is like I understand like the show has a reason for doing this. I just thought some of the fan service scenes were a bit too excessive. It's like, do we really need like them naked in the shower?
Yes.
Like, 3 times.
No,
Yes.
I agree. I get
This
what
is
your
a
point
really
is.
interesting thing to me because, so like, I'm straight. I'm not into men, but for some reason, I'm like, I don't know if it's just because society normally sexualizes women more, but like, for the male fan service in this show, I'm like, kind of fun. This doesn't happen a lot, but then when there's like a lot of fan service of like women and their like boobs or whatever, I'm like, this is too much for me. Can we tone it down? And I have no idea
Yeah.
why that is. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, it's probably because you're not used to seeing it as much.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just
Yeah.
not tired of it yet.
I don't know. It's just like, I mean, like it's a gender neutral thing. I don't like it in any show when it's fan service is too excessive. But yeah, but like despite all that, the show is amazing. 9 out of 10. Go watch it.
9 out of 10 from Johnny. All right, Pete, what have you got?
Yep, so I'm gonna compare this to Kuroko no Basket, and which is a basketball anime. It is a sport that I love. I play it to this day. If it's sunny outside, I am playing basketball. And what Kuroko Basket does is takes a thing that I am super passionate about and ruins it with an awful cast and a terrible story and terrible dynamics. Where You're on Ice takes a thing I don't care about, a sport that I don't care about, I have no passion, and turns it into one of my favorite sports animes of all time. I said earlier in the show, the OP is my second favorite OP of all time. I think it's incredible. The fact that one person drew that whole thing is god tier because it switches animations, and I think that's a huge thing to a show of how you start the show, at least to me. And I think History Makers says a lot about what the show is about. I love the cast and characters. Like I think Pat said earlier, there are some tertiary characters that are just like whatever, but it doesn't really like negatively affect the show to me that much. Just like whatever, and they move on. They have like 8 seconds of screen time. Not that big of a deal. Yuri on Ice is super fun for somebody who, like me, has no passion to ice skating, but has a great this overall like theme, characters, music, choreography, animation. I think is wonderful. I'm really looking forward to Ice Adolescence, which is the movie supposed to be coming out. Was supposed to come out last year, hopefully this year, but COVID delayed it. I love Yuri on Ice. The dub is top 2 dub, I think. It might be the best dub of all time I've ever seen. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the show.
9 out of 10 from Pete as well. All right, AK, what about you?
This is in my top 10 favorite shows. Again, I'm a new weeb, so I've only, let's say, watched 2, 3, 4 dozen shows at this point. So, but it's still in my top 10. It has not left, and it will not be moving anytime soon. After watching it for a third time, it almost moved up in my top 10 because I loved it so much. I came for I like ice skating a little bit, so I thought it was kind of fun as a girl who likes dancing and theater and stuff like that. I liked the performance aspect, but I stayed for the characters, and that's why I keep coming back because I absolutely love them. They are so authentic and realistic and silly and fun, and real, and I love, and like each one of them has a purpose and a wonderful, I think, backstory to why they exist in the universe of the Yuri on Ice show. Um and not many shows, even though my best boy is Yurio, who's considered one of the main characters, most shows that I watch or animes that I watch, I like the main character, because why would you watch a show that you don't like the main character? I like the main characters in these shows, but they also have so many phenomenal side characters, which make the whole universe and the whole show itself really interesting and really compelling. Because you can only watch one character go through 12 episodes so much. So
Yep.
I love it, and I love the canonly gay relationship between Victor and Yuri.
Scream it.
And I would give it a 9 out of 10 for sure.
9 out of 10 as well. Okay, and lastly, my final thoughts. We didn't get too critical of it during the show or during our discussion. I will say I think the ending felt a bit quick to me. It felt like
Same.
it did to you guys too. Okay, because like I don't know, they gave the final score for like Yurio, and I was just like, yeah, that's it. And I was just like, huh? Like they didn't even talk about like, oh, why was his performance better than blanks? I guess they did because it was like, oh, his short session or whatever was way better than Yuri's short session, and then the other way around for the longer session. But like he barely edged him out by a certain amount of points. It's like, oh, we're setting up for season 2 rather than just wrapping up the story and being done with it, and that I was a little disappointed by that. Along with being frustrated at the beginning, that again, it was really very nitpicky, but I was annoyed by how it started. It was a little, I was cringing a little more than I was enjoying it at the very, very beginning, but that changed very quickly by the time we got to the middle of the show. This show is a character-driven show, and I love character-driven shows, and I think this show does it extremely, extremely well. All the characters are great. But again, because of that ending that wasn't satisfying, it didn't quite land for me. I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10 rather than a 9 like everybody else, which based off of my quick maths, because I can do quick maths, that leaves us with an 8.80 for Yuri on Ice between
Nice.
5 people. That is a pretty damn good score. It's up
That's
there,
probably
just beneath
top
Isoken.
5.
It's top 5-ish. Yeah, it's close because we got a lot
It's
of 8.8s.
exactly top 5, I think.
Top 5? Yeah,
It's
because it's below
exactly fifth.
It's below Isaac and Violet. Thank God.
Oh,
Thank
I
you.
mean, this is a much better show than Violet Evergarden,
Watch your mouth.
which is a pretty mid show.
I muted Miles. We're good. We can keep going.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that wraps up our discussion of Yuri on Ice. Thank you for joining us. And now let's move on to the nominations real quick. So, but well, actually, no, we're not going to do that. God,
Nope.
you'd think by now,
You
after
think by
almost
now.
by now, especially speaking of which, we are nominating for our yearly or our 1 year anniversary episode of Anime Watch Club here at this podcast and everything.
Yay.
But first, we need to talk about the show that we're watching for the week before that we just voted on this past week. Miles, what show are we watching next week?
Sure. So we had 6 shows / movies nominated. We had Akira, How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, Rosario Vampire, Hinamatsuri, The Devil is a Part-Timer, and then Here and Now, When They're Forever, whatever.
Once upon a time, here we were.
Yeah. And so
Weird show name, yeah.
we have. I'm just so excited that this has happened. So per the rules of our show, because we give legacy points to everything that has like a tie, every single show gets a legacy point.
Wow.
And so in third place with 1 point, Here and There, whatever, Now and When, gets a legacy point, which is its 4th legacy point. It had exactly 1 third place vote from me.
Nice.
And then tied for second, we have 4 shows. We have Dumbbells, Rosario Vampire, Hinamatsuri, and The Devil is a Part-Timer. And then we will be watching the movie Akira for the next one. So I'm pretty excited about that. Gonna listen to a bunch of Kanye West and then watch Akira. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. So we will be watching Akira. Wow, I can't wait. That's gonna be the oldest thing I think we've watched because I believe it is older than
It's older than Tokyo Godfathers.
it is. Well,
Oh
Tokyo
yeah, it's like
Godfathers is young.
it's like an
No, but like
80s
even
movie.
Perfect Blue as well. It's from 1988. So yeah, that'll be great. I cannot wait to watch this and maybe come out with an album of some kind or something. You
They're
know, that
remaking the movie into a TV show.
Wow.
We'll see. We'll see.
No,
how
they
that
are.
goes. I know. Well, I'm saying we'll see how that goes. You know, because that always goes over well with people. You know, like the Cowboy Bebop movie that's coming or series that's coming soon.
Yes.
But either way, now we know what we're watching. 2 weeks from now, on May 3rd, I believe is what the day is. But yeah, let's get into our nominations. Miles, what show are you nominating this week for our? This is nominations for our 1 year episode.
Yeah, so our normal co-host Haz is out. He had to have jaw surgery. I'm gonna pick up his banner and nominate Rosario Vampire for him.
Wow, what a guy!
What an absolute.
What a
gem.
guy!
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
But-
I don't think it's gonna win, but what a
You think
guy!
Kaz is watching right now?
No, of course
Well,
not.
I have won approximately half of our votes. So if there's a way to get Rosario Vampire to win, it's for me to nominate it.
All right, that's
I have
true. You've
a
won
natural
like
magnetism.
yeah, that's true.
Good lord. Okay, Rosario Vampire is being nominated. Johnny, what have you got?
All right, so the show I'm nominating this week, I was gonna re-up the other show, but if no one's gonna vote for it, then it's whatever.
It
So
got
I'm
second
going
place.
It's gotten second place
so,
3 weeks
so
in
did
a row.
4 other shows, but I
It
don't
has,
know.
it has 3 legacy points.
I don't know. I feel maybe I'll re-up it one other day, but I feel like for 1 year I should do something that's a bit more like serious. So I'm gonna be nominating Erased.
Okay.
Okay.
Erased. Okay, erased.
You
That's a
guys
good
in
show.
switching shows that are like clearly doing so well, name a
Yeah.
better duo.
Yeah,
Like-
true.
Yeah, Pete, what have you got?
I'm gonna re-up my show. I just think the show is so much fun, and I think it would be a great conversation. I'm gonna redo Hina Matsuri.
Hinamatsuri. Alrighty. AK, what about you?
I'm going with the low key, definitely not low key BL vibe, and I'm gonna nominate Banana Fish.
Oh,
Banana
good pick.
Fish. Okay, does that have a
That one's
legacy?
that one's 24 episodes though.
Oh, it's 24. I thought it was 12.
Yeah, it's
Ow.
24.
Ooh.
All right, well that is going to be disqualified. Banhammer.
Okay, wait,
X
can
cross.
I do a movie instead then?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
I was about to say I'll
Okay,
go first, but if you have one, then go ahead.
I want to eat your pancreas.
Okay.
Also
Ooh.
gonna unfortunately
Also,
have to get the X because
that
Pete-
we will not be doing that movie either. Sorry.
unfortunately
Oh,
that is
yeah,
the one movie
okay.
in anime that we are not
Yep.
All right, that's
allowed to
fine.
nominate. But so that will get the X as well. But I will go while you figure out your final.
Sorry,
your
AK.
It's okay. The
Ready?
same
Give
thing
me one
happened
more
to me
second.
too. Don't
There's a
worry.
very personal reason why we do not
Yeah.
do that movie.
Totally fine. Totally fine.
Yeah, we can explain after. But yeah, so finally, I'll go first. I'm just gonna re-up now and then, here and there. I believe is actually what the title is, or at least the original translation of the title from Japanese. We've gotten 4 legacy points. You know, I have this habit of nominating shows that always finish in second. Take notes, ladies. There we go. Great content.
Okay, so now and
Yeah.
then Unlimited Blade Works, is that what it's
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's what it's called. Yeah, there we go. Or
called? Brotherhood?
now and
Now
then
and then
Brotherhood,
Brotherhood.
something
Super.
something about the Christoph Giacometti whatever guy. Yeah, there we go. The Swiss skater. There we go. Okay, AK, what have you got? I believe in you.
What's your just go through your top 10. What's your favorite? What's your number 2 anime?
They're longer than 12 episodes. I have
Oh.
Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, One Punch Man,
One
Death
Punch Man's
Note.
not. That's 12
One Punch Man
episodes.
has 2 seasons though.
Yeah, you can do first seasons of things.
Oh, first season of One Punch Man then.
There we go. I love that show.
Me too.
And
Alright.
One Punch Man.
Got our
Okay.
nominations in.
Alrighty, well there we go. So Pete, take it away.
Yes, if you made it this far into the podcast, thank you so much. If you are really cool, you should like, comment, subscribe, you know, that whole jazz. And you should go check out AK. I'll have links to all of her stuff in the description below. She's really fun and really nice and everything like that, so you should do that. Normally we do episodes on Monday. We are doing a special episode on Friday/Saturday, depending on when the upload happens. And that's the Demon Slayer movie. Me and Pat are going to the theater and we will be reviewing it. So check us out in a week from now for the Demon Slayer movie. Otherwise, we will be seeing you in 2 weeks for Akira Watch Club. So thank you, AK, for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.